All right. So, welcome to part two of the intro to the Rule of Three. And in this, we're actually going to look at a film, a martial arts film. There's a lot that you can learn from martial arts films, even though it's choreography. Um, Many of the choreographers are actual martial artists, and of course, the people in the movies are usually very strong and good martial artists. In this example, we have Jet Li, who is one of the best martial artists of all time, technically. Though he has no actual fight experience, he's won, countless competitions just over and over and over for his forms and techniques. So his understanding of martial arts techniques is bar none, very high. Now you also have Yasuaki Kurata, who is a karate expert. And in this film, Fist of Legend, this is set during the occupation. It's in the early 1900s of Japan and China and all that because he had World War One and that branching into World War Two and all that. So there's a lot of tension between the Japanese and the Chinese at this time. I'm explaining this so that you understand the context of this particular sparring match. That's exactly what it is. Even though they are kind of enemies, Jet Li, his name is Chen Zhen in this movie, is someone who has traveled the world and learned martial arts from all over the place. And he's very talented and young. And he returned to China to find his master was killed, likely poisoned. This is the real Wong Fei Hong. Wong Fei Hong is a Chinese folk hero. Anyway, in real life, and he did die. But they made up this student Chen Zhen, who went and he was considered Wong Fei Hong's greatest student, and he returned and he finds his master dead and he gets revenge. It's also about Chinese people standing up against the racism that they endured during the Japanese occupation. There was a sign that said "No dogs and no Chinese," you know, saying that they were the same as dogs. Um, Bruce Lee was in a movie called Fist of Fury, and that movie is about the same character Chen Zan coming back to avenge his master, and he kicked that sign off of the hooks, and then he kicked it while it was in the air and split it into pieces, and everyone clapped during that. And in real life, they gave him a standing ovation during that scene because he was really fighting racism in that scene. It was very beautiful. Anyway, back to this scene. So Yasaki Kurata, he's actually a good guy, even though he's considered on the bad side with him being Japanese. I believe he is Jet Li's father-in-law because Jet Li or Shenzhen married a Japanese woman, so he's like known to mix things, including his martial arts styles. That's what shows in this film, and also in the film study, we're gonna see him show different styles of martial arts. And then Yasaki Karata is, even though he only knows karate, he's actually going to do some very genius moves. But in terms of the rule of three, right, we'll only study the beginning of this, and maybe I'll give you a little bonus in their first interaction up until he gets blinded. I'll do a full film study on this later because there are about three or four different things that you could do a lesson on in this film study. So without further ado, let me go ahead and press play, and I want you to watch how they begin this fight. Oh.
Toshi da kara na.
Okay. That's always makes me laugh because he's like, this older man who's not quite as, he doesn't seem, he's unassuming. He's unassuming and he just charges right out the gate and gives him the big drop kick straight to the head. Huge drop kick straight to the head. And then before Jet Li is even done stumbling backwards, he blocks it and he's stumbling backwards. You can cut here and see, look, he's already sprinting at him. Full speed. Look at this. Look, there's dust off the ground. He's flying in the air. He's like, whoa! And before he's even done stumbling, you saw him, look, sprinting. And he jumps really high in the air. And he ends up in a very dominant position on top. Boom. And from that, he goes and tries to follow through with a great technique, a great point that he would score. Boom. Right? And Jet Li, does a little backflip here to get out of that terrible position. Right? And he finally got his guard up. So he at least has his guard up. Now, maybe we'll look at the beginning of this. So let's go back to the very beginning, Do you notice anything about the rule of three here? Right? This is in storytelling because we're talking about a movie. This is choreography. Right? We already did a real life example with Ken Shamrock and Royce Gracie. You need to understand that every fight is a song and they're a story waiting to be told, waiting to be written. So just like when we watch movies, like Bruce Lee said, every fight is a play, but played seriously. That's what this means. It's like fights are they're songs, they're written. It's written by somebody. And if you don't, pay attention, then the other guy's gonna write it. You never know. But if you wanna, be in control, you wanna be like Yasuaki. Now Yasuaki in the beginning, he says, hold on, wait. Look, watch. Jelly's gonna get ready. He's puts his hands up. He's young. He's ready. He's raring to go. And as soon as he rushes, he says, "No, absolutely not. First of all, I still got my coat on. Let me put my pimp coat on. Let me put it over on the side. Fold it up nicely. It's hot outside. You're not gonna have me sweating." Yeah. See, look. It's hot. Right? So he folds them up. He takes his time. This is important to understand. He takes his time, and then he watches him. Look. He's ready. You see, he's got his hands up. He's still ready. He's still ready. So he puts his hands up. He's already decided. He's like, nah, it's not time to fight. Because the other person gets to go first. And you don't want them to be first unless you are allowing them to be first. It says, no. You are not first, sir. Right? He said, I gotta warm up. And that's perfectly reasonable. He's much older. Chen Zhen's got all the advantage in the world. He's the young man. He should be nice. Be nice to the old man. Then he warms up, and Jet Li's like looking at him. He's like, are you effing serious, dude? Look at him. And watch, he's confused. Now you see, watch, he puts his hands up like kind of gingerly. Like he's not sure if it's time to fight. And so he immediately decides, yes, now is the time to fight. Okay? This is a beautiful storytelling technique. And it brings about a good reaction. But it's how you can read somebody's tempo, right? Somebody was going too fast, so he slowed him down. He said, nah. And then on his timing, he decides to come forward. So this is just an example of the rule of three in storytelling in a movie. We can even break down part of the interaction that they have after this. Watch. 1, 2, and then he goes for checkmate. 3, right? Okay, he's up. He said, all right, I'm going to be first again. 1 kick to the body. He blocks it, pulls his body out of the way. Just 2, right? He tried to thrust the kick over here, and then he's gonna do 3. But let's see what is up with this roundhouse kick that he's gonna try to hit him with. 3. Ooh, he spun it into another roundhouse kick. It was a veiled attack. He did an attack that leads into the same. It was a little unexpected. Like you didn't expect him. You expect him to put that foot down and maybe attack with something else. But no, he spins with the same foot and attacks. That's 3. Right. So this is their second interaction. The first interaction was him starting, and he did 3 attacks. Now he attacks here. Right. He throws 3 kicks. Boom. He won a point there. He got a point. So the first time he didn't get a point, but he got a great position. He got the pace. This time he got a point, and then he's ready. He's ready. So ooh, and look on the third one. You hear the music? Dun dun dun. The rule of 3 is everywhere, man. It's everywhere. So he attacks with a big double flying kick, right? Boom. Scored a point. It was huge. He's probably gonna come forward again. 2. And then Jet Li finally sped up on that second attack. He speeds up with a counter, right? Very athletic. He was just on his back, and without even touching the ground, he flips to this position on his front. So that's crazy. And he blocks the kick and hits him in the chest at the same time. And then charges forward. Now they're starting to fight. You know? Ooh. So they start doing some boxing. They start showcasing some boxing and karate here because you see the shuto, right? The shuto hand position from Yasuaki, and then the sweeping punches from Jet Li. It was kind of their understanding of how boxing kind of works, and also he's using kung fu as well. Not the prettiest boxing, I understand, but he's trying to show his head movement too. Right, and his bounce, things like that. So that's a whole nother lesson. The main thing here was understand the rule of 3 and the theme on a different scale, bigger scale. So you saw it was 3 interactions, but also is who goes first, and then how can you tell the story of the fight? How can you truly control the pace using the rule of 3? So that's kind of how you can recognize it on a much larger scale. So with that, you've been introduced to this concept of the rule of 3. Now, using it in a fight is completely, it's a different level. So it makes you work backwards. It makes you work backwards because you go from, okay, I can see something, like at the end of something you can see, I want to be able to predict somebody, right? And then you go back and like, oh, well, how can you read someone's rhythm in the first place? And you take something foreign like the rule of 3, which is a literary concept, and then you apply it in a way that makes sense, parallels. Then you go back and like, all right, well, what skills do I need to have to be able to create a situation where I can predict something? Well, you need to be able to do 2 small things, and you can't just attack all the time because you're gonna get your ass kicked. All right, so you can't do that. You can't just go in and start punching and doing all this stuff. You have to learn how to do what they call an educated jab, and that doesn't always mean attack. Like one of my 12 jabs in my system is a feint. It's not even a jab; it's just a feint because you're just trying to draw them out and make them do something. You're asking them a question. You're saying, "Hey, what are you gonna do about this?" Or what are you gonna do if I jab to the left? Or what are you gonna do if I jab you on the body really hard? What if you're gonna do if I feint? What are you gonna do? And then when you say something, I say something back. Or maybe I'll say, yeah, I'll chill out and be quiet. And that leads into my drill for this to understand this, which is called knock knock. The knock knock drill. And that's part of my course, the white belt boxing course and all that stuff. Maybe I'll separate it just to have people be able to, do this drill on their own if they want to do it their own way. But because it encompasses so many different things, we have to go back to the basic training. Do you know how to throw different jabs? At least 4 out of 12. Let's say 6 out of 12, so you can get the feint, right? If you can at least learn 6 jabs, okay. Okay, now, do you know 3 hand positions, right? We have a closed guard, right, which is just a high guard with one hand active. Okay. Do you have a front guard, which is the normal boxing position, right? Both hands up, jab hand in the front, and you can switch both of these. And maybe a shell, which is very basic. Um, just maybe not hold it so long because the Philly shell style is a whole style, so you need to learn more techniques. But at least learning the position, 1, 2, 3, and switching on both sides. So that's something small that you can do. That's something that you can introduce to someone and say, "Hi, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about this?" And that's 2 things right there. And if they jab, if they attack, now you get to read, oh, look, they're being aggressive, you know? So I have a film study on that, and that'll be in a different section in our knock knock drill section. So stay tuned for that. But this is an introduction to the rule of 3 and understanding it in a real life fight situation and in the MMA, right, at the UFC, and in a film and storytelling situation, which actually does apply in real combat if you observe the art and you can draw the parallels. Mental, I'm sorry, combat psychology. We call it combat psychology. I would like to call it competitive psychology, but that's already taken. So we're gonna go with combat psychology. And you guys can all thank Kaizen for this lesson. So Kaizen Master is my mentor, and he initially taught me about the rule of 3. It's something that I've already been using unknowingly, but he opened my eyes to it on a different level. And so I was understanding. I was like, oh, that's why, like that. I was doing this, but like I was a little unconscious of some of the deeper themes of it. Now I created a drill and I created a system of weaponizing it for martial arts. So stay tuned and you know look at some of our other lessons so that you can understand some other concepts such as the animal styles, right? The types of fighters. Um, Kaizen also taught me about the 4 logics. This is another way to classify people, and of course A, B, and C students. These are some of our best models, psychological models that you can use. So thanks for coming, and I'll see you next time.